Good day. So I welcome you to another section of our course. This is Module 5 and this is the 5th video for this course. The title of the course is Social Work, and for this module we'll be looking at the topic family and child welfare in social work. So we've been able to justify some basic topics in our previous modules where we look at the introduction to social work, the historical developments of social works, the ethics and the likes. So now this is module 5, and in this module, as I've stated earlier, we'll be looking at family and child welfare, so as a topic in social works. So only that we have the content of the module to be number 1, family and child welfare. We also look at family dynamics and support. Then we move on to strengthening family units, then domestic violence intervention, child protection services. Then we move on to adoption and guardianship processes. And lastly, we'll be looking at youth development programs, which entails adolescent counseling, transition to adulthood support, and the likes. And no. So now let's move on to the introductory part of the module, where we'll be having that the module explores key aspects of family and child welfare, focusing on supporting families, not only families, but also protecting children and aiding youth development. So it draws from global best practices while also incorporating relevant insights from Nigeria, where we have family structures that often emphasize community and extended kinship ties. So the contents of the module emphasizes preventive strategies, intervention methods, and support systems to promote healthy family environments and also child well-being. So family and child welfare refers to the broad framework of policies, services, programs, and community actions that is dedicated to ensuring safety, not only safety but also healthy development, protection, and overall well-being of children, while also supporting and strengthening the families in which the children are living. So now let's move on to family and child welfare, the meaning of family and child welfare now. So it refers to the comprehensive system of policies, programs, services, and community efforts that is designed to promote safety, health, development, and overall well-being of child and their families, as we have mentioned and defined initially. So the family and child welfare can be said that it encompasses preventive measures to strengthen family functioning, protective interventions when children are at risk of harm, and supportive services that help families overcome challenges such as these challenges might include poverty, violence, illness, or social exclusion. So the core objective of this is to enable children to grow up in a safe, stable, nurturing environment whereby their physical, emotional, educational, and social needs are well met, while simultaneously also empowering families to be able to provide adequate care and protection for the children while growing up. So let's move on to the next subtopic, which is that I'll be treating in this course, which is family dynamics and support. So you have family dynamic to mean that it can be defined as the emotional, practical, psychological, and even sometimes financial assistance that family members provide to one another within the patterns of interactions, within the patterns of roles and relationships that characterize their family units, which is commonly called family dynamics. So this refers to, in a layman definition, we can easily say that family dynamics and support are those different types of supports, and that can come in form of emotional. It might be emotional support, physical support, psychological support, economical support, financial support, any support of its form that family members are providing to one another within the patterns of interactions. So that's the layman definition of family dynamics and support. It can just be that support that your aunt, your uncle, or any of your family member is rendering or giving to you. which can be financially, which can be emotionally. That little uncle, that uncle that you can easily express your emotional, your financial life to, your emotional self, you can easily express to, and they will give you that support and encourage you. So this is the kind of this is a layman explanation to what we refer to as family dynamics and support. So healthy environment, to move on, healthy family dynamics usually include strong elements of support, in which the key features of these strong element support include: one, we have emotional support, and under this emotional support we have that listening without judgment, that is the act of listening without judgment, also validating feelings, then offering comfort during stress, then celebrating successes. These are emotional instances of emotional support. We also have practical support, whereby we have helping with daily tasks, childcare, financial assistance when needed, then showing up for important events. These are practical support also. So let's move on to strengthening family units now. So the meaning of strengthening family units, it involves strategies to enhance cohesion, communication, mutual respect, and overall stability within the households. The main goal is just to build resilient families that is capable of weathering stress and preventing breakdown. A family that is strong, that is strong enough to prevent breakdown, a healthy family and all. So effective approaches include structured family therapy techniques that help families understand and adjust rules and boundaries. In many contexts, particularly where extended family and community networks are strong, programs emphasize economic strengthening through skills training, income generating activities, savings groups, and financial literacy workshops and the likes. So now we move on to domestic violence intervention. Domestic violence, which can also be known as intimate partner violence. So this is they are the type of violence that happen intimately between partners, between someone that you are close to, within an household, within a household, within a roof. So these are domestic violence, and it involves any pattern of behavior that is used by one person to gain or maintain power or control over an intimate partner. So that is, for instance, where we have a husband in a house trying to be the superpower, that is trying to gain power, or a kind of behavior or attitude which can be threatening and forcing sometimes, that a husband is trying to use to maintain power and control over the other partner. So it also includes physical, sexual, emotional, psychological, economic, and technological abuse. So it is not just limited to our physical abuse alone. We can have domestic violence in various forms, as it has been stated initially, which could be sexual, emotional, psychological, and the likes. So intervention in this domestic violence prioritizes the immediate safety of survivors, which these survivors are typically women and children, followed by long-term support for recovery and prevention of future violence. The key strategies include safety planning, emergency shelter, legal protection orders, confidential helplines available 24/7, and crisis counselling. So now let's move on to child protection services. These are programs. These programs, they represent essential multifaceted efforts to prevent and respond to all forms of violence, abuse, or neglect, exploitation, and harmful practices against children, mainly children. It is rooted in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child and supported by organizations such as UNICEF and WHO, that is the World Health Organization. These programs operate at every level, from building strong national systems and legal frameworks to delivering family support, community education, psychosocial care, and emergency interventions. And in a world where over 1 billion children still experience violence each year, with devastating economic and human costs, these programs stand as a collective commitment from governments, communities, and international partners to prioritize children's rights and resilience. So now the next subtopic that we're looking at is identifying and reporting child abuse. how do we identify child abuse and instantly reporting them whenever we see any form or we sense any form of child abuse. So identifying and reporting child abuse includes physical, sexual, emotional abuse and neglect of any act or failure to act by a caregiver that can result or that results in harm or potential harm to a child. So identification, if it requires awareness of warning signs such as unexplained injuries that there is no specific or factual explanation for, frequent injuries in various stages of healing, behavioral changes, these behavioral changes could be withdrawal, it could be aggression, it could be fear, developmental delays, poor hygiene, inadequate clothing, and sudden change in school performance or attendance. And all these are different symptoms that is easier for people to identify child abuse. All these are symptoms of child abuse. So professionals who work with children, so that is which could be the teachers, the healthcare workers, the social workers involved, religious leaders, they are often mandated they are often known or asked to be mandated reporters and must report reasonable suspicions of abuse or neglect to designated authority without needing definitive proof. So now moving on to adoption and guardianship process. So now adoption, it is a legal process that permanently transfers all parental rights and responsibility from birth parents to adoptive parents, making the adoptive parents legally equivalent to biological parents. It is just as the name implies, it's the process of adopting or transferring the legal rights or functions and legal rights and functions and responsibility of a biological parent to another parent, which are mostly referred to as the adoptive parents legally. Emphasis on legally. So guardianship, on the other hand, or by contrast, is usually a temporary arrangement that grants an individual the authority to make decisions about a child's care, education and welfare without permanently terminating the birth parents' legal rights. So this is just like a temporary parenthood for a particular period of time, now in which these sort of people also has they also have the authority to decide and about the child's care, about the education of the children and welfare without permanently terminating the birth parents' rights. So the adoption process generally involves eligibility screening, which involves age, marital status, health, and also the financial stability. We can't just grant adoption to any other person if the person cannot financially cater for the child. So, and we also conduct extensive background checks, home studies, training for prospective parents, matching with a child, supervised placement periods, and final court approval. So these are the main adoption processes in Nigeria. So now let's move on to the adolescent counseling. This addresses the unique developmental needs of teenagers, focusing on identity formation, emotional regulation, peer relationships, family conflicts, academic pressures, mental health concerns, and risky behaviors. So effective approaches include cognitive behavioral therapy to help adolescents identify and modify negative thought patterns and the likes. So common techniques involve goal setting worksheets, role playing, journaling, art or music expression, group activities that build trust and communications, and family sessions to improve parenting relationships. And this parenting relationship has to do with the whole relationship that is kept between parents and their children, especially that at the adolescent age, at the teen age. Then let's move on to the transition to adulthood support. So this transition to adulthood support, it helps young people typically between the age of 16 to 24 to develop the practical, emotional and social skills that is needed for independent living. The key components include life skills training, budgeting, cooking, time management and job readiness. Then educational and vocational guidance. employment preparation, mentorship, financial literacy, housing support, and continued access to health and mental health services. Well, however, for vulnerable groups, these are youth living foster care, those from disadvantaged backgrounds, or those with disability. For them, programs often extend formal support beyond the typical age of majority, providing case management, financial assistance, and ongoing mentoring. In conclusion, this module, that is the module 5, which is on family and child welfare, has underscores the critical interconnectedness of strong family units, health dynamics, and robust child protection systems in fostering children's safety, development, and well-being. So by prioritizing preventive strategies such as parenting education, economic strengthening, positive communication, and community support, alongside responsive interventions like domestic violence programs, abuse reporting mechanisms, adoption processes, adolescent counseling, and youth transition support, these efforts empower families as the primary nurturing environment, while also addressing risks that neglect, exploitation, and violence could cause. Thank you. This will be the end for this module.